second edition of Horus Heresy, out of Rogue Trader, out of any edition, out of 40k 8th edition and 5th edition as well. 40k 5th edition was a really good rule set.
It was good, yep.
Out of the other games I've played, like I've dabbled in Star Wars Legion, I've dabbled in many things, but when you talk about just pure rule sets, gameplay wise, the best rule set I've ever played is 2nd edition Heresy, which is why I'm terrified about 3rd edition Heresy. So when you're talking about trying to play this edition or that edition, or go for this or go for that, and I've always played whatever edition, however it comes. The highs, the lows.
Yep.
I know people bring in a lot of different... I know even in 2nd edition Heresy, there's lots of house rules when it comes to Artificer Armor. There's house rules when it comes into Deep Strike. But there's always been house rules. Pick an edition, pick a rule set, pick 40k, 30k, whatever. There's always been rules. There's always been house rules. There's always been people trying to improve it. I've always played whatever edition in whatever form it's in its purest sense. And 2nd edition Horus Heresy, as far as rules go, it's the best edition I've ever played. It's the best war game rule set I've ever played. It really brings the story to life. And in the best battles that I've had, you feel like you're playing a black library book. It is. I can't sing its praises highly enough.
Okay.
So what are we talking about?
We are talking
talking
about
2nd edition.
So yeah, but we're actually talking about Horus Heresy now, because
Are we?
You're saying that 2nd edition Horus Heresy is the best rule set you've ever played.
Yes.
Is it based? It's based on a 40k edition, right? Is it based on 7th?
So 3rd through 7th. Here's the thing. There's been 3 editions of Warhammer 40k. There's been 1st and 2nd.
Horus Heresy.
Then there's
yeah.
No, Warhammer 40k, there's been 1st and 2nd. 2nd was an evolution of 1st. Then there's been 3rd through to 7th edition of Warhammer 40k, and it's been an evolution of the same rule set. Then there's been 8th, 9th, 10th. 8th, 9th, 10th is the same edition of Warhammer 40k. 10th flipped the script a little bit, because 8th brought in wounds for everything and no vehicle facing, got rid of blast markers, things like that. 10th flipped the script a little bit because it got rid of Warhammer. It's got rid of Force Org, so you can bring 3 of anything, blah, blah, blah. But the core rules underneath are still the wounds, the AP system, no armor values. Everything is basically a bigger or smaller hitbox. There are no templates. There is none of that. It's essentially the rules underneath is the same core rules edition. So there's been 3 editions of Warhammer 40k and variants of, and it's 1st and 2nd, 3rd to 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Heresy 2.0 is based on the 3rd to 7th rule set.
Okay.
It's an evolution of, so we after 7th went to 8th. Heresy went to Heresy 1.5, which is 1.5 Heresy, because Heresy was originally based on the 7th edition rule set, so you could play Heresy 1.0 versus anyone with Warhammer 40k armies. And then they changed 40k to 8th edition, and they changed Heresy a little bit.
Okay.
So it's based around that same system, which means that Heresy 2.0 is based on the system that they established in 3rd edition back in the 1990s and built the entire success of Games Workshop on. And they've been refining it and improving it ever since. And it brought in some things with 8th, for example, dreadnoughts and javelin attack speeders and bikes, things like that. The things got wounds, more than 1 wounds, and there was, instead of armor values. But what they did is, here's the thing. Warhammer 40k is, in its current form, Warhammer 40k is a very simple rule system. It's very simple. You can pick it up really easy. You can teach it to your 8-year-old. And I like that about it. I like the fact that it's very accessible. And when you get to the detachments, you can see it on 2 pages. That's the detachment. Here's the core rules. Go. It's a very simple rules system with thousands of stratagems or reactions. And the reasons why it's got thousands of stratagems or reactions is because there's many different data sheets with many different stratagems and many different enhancements and many different factions. So it's a very simple system, which is really hard to master.
It explodes into a lot more.
There's many different ways to react with that core rule system. Heresy 2.0 is the other way. It's a more complex rule system in its core sense. It's harder to learn, but it's a lot easier to master because there isn't thousands of different stratagems and reactions. There's 3. There's ones that you can do in the movement phase, ones you can do in the shooting phase, and ones you can do in the fight phase. And there's a couple of others that you can do, specific ones, Legion specific. So there's not just 3. There's the 3 core ones and other things that you can do in the Legions. So 40k is a simple rule set with thousands of other interactions, which means it's difficult to master. And Heresy is a more complex rule set, which is harder to learn but easier to master. As soon as you've got over that initial hump, there's only a few different interactions and reactions and stratagems that affect that core rule set, but the complex depth at its core means that there's a complex depth at its core.
At its core,
So that's the difference between 40k and Heresy in a nutshell, I think.
Okay, so simple to learn, difficult to master, difficult 40K. To learn, simple to master.
Yes.
Wow, that should be the new tagline. I'm sure there's already some board games that have those taglines, but we should push games. I mean, Games Workshop watch this as we've already established.
Yes.
So they can take that now. 40k on the front box. Simple to learn, difficult to master. Then Horus Heresy, Age of Darkness. Difficult to learn, simple to master. Do you want to be a master? Play Horus Heresy.
Why did you do a Canadian accent there?
Was that Canadian? Was it?
It sounded Canadian to me.
It was one of them over the ocean accents.
Can you do any other accents?
Can
you do Brummy?
All right, mate.
Birmingham.
Do a bit of Brummy.
How about Liverpudlian?
Yeah. I need something to say.
Hey. Welcome to the Battle Report in Liverpudlian.
Oh, a can of Coke, please, mate. Give us a can of Coke.
Can you do Swahili?
No.
Okay.
Right, no, I can't do Swahili. We found my limits.
Scottish.
Well, welcome to the STC podcast.
You bastard.
You bastard. This is your host, Warsmith Chris.
You bastard. You need
bastard.
To swear at the end of every sentence.
All right, you bastard.
That's how it works.
This is your host, Warsmith Chris and Winters SEO. This is the podcast where we talk about. I don't even know. I mean, you've had a good old sample so far of what we talk about.
That's a really strong Scottish accent. You should
like it. I don't know which one it is. I've got a lot of Scottish. Scottish people hate it when you say this, but I do have a lot of Scottish ancestors.
Really?
And then when you say something like, "Oh, I'm a quarter Scottish," they're like, "Fuck off, you British bastard." Because you're
Scottish
not
are British.
Proper Scottish. Yeah, well, yeah, that is the law.
What you're saying is you've got a lot of Scottish inside of you?
Yeah, all up in me. It's in my beard.
I can't do accents, but your Scottish accent's good. I think that you should do the remainder of this podcast in Scottish.
Not going to do it in Scottish.
That's how bad my...
You do a great Swindonese.
Thanks.
I like it.
See, the truth is people don't even know, so I'm not even going to say it on camera, but I'm not even English. I'm half Dutch, half Irish. People didn't even know that. I'm not even English at all.
You've got that like turtleish face, which I think comes from those mixed heritages.
My ancestors are from everywhere but Britain. It's incredible. Oh, wow. I'm married to a Polish bird, so it's just, I've
done a bit of that. I looked at my genes. You know that you can do the DNA testing. Yeah, I looked in my genes.
Where did you get the microscope from? That's really...
That's very funny.
Thank you.
I did one of the DNA test things, and it tells you what your makeup is.
You did the DNA test thing. You actually went and did it.
No, you do it at home. All you do is you run a little thing around your mouth. Yeah, you just send it off. Just to see.
What little thing did you run around your mouth?
It's a swab.
A swab.
All right.
Okay.
And then you have to plug one nostril.
Right.
No, you don't. Basically, it says...
I have heard that you often run little things around your mouth.
I do. I do a lot of the time, yeah. Especially when we're filming bat reps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Open wide.
Can I finish my tangent, please? My non-Warhammer related tangent.
Sure.
Turns out that I am exactly like the product of English history. Like
Are you?
Yeah, like Vikings,
rare.
Vikings, Saxons, Normans, Scottish people, all together in one.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, I didn't really need to take a test to know that, did I? I'm a British person.
Dude, that's rare because we got invaded by everyone all the time.
Yes, and it's all the invaders.
Like the original people
I'm
here,
a little chunk of all the different invaders.
The original people here were like Neanderthals, but before that,
they're gone. Yeah,
you know,
the originals,
Celts, right?
Yeah.
And then they were invaded by like the Saxons, and then the Angles, and then the French, and then the
Danes.
The Danes. Yeah, it's rare to have just the English thing because we're a bit from everywhere.
Did you not listen to me? I just said
I did hear
a bit Danish, a bit Saxon, a little bit Norman. All the countries that invaded us are my genetic heritage. So I'm literally just a product of invasions.
Right.
That's the only reason I exist.
I look at you and think that you're probably a product of invasions.
Yeah?
Yeah, you look a bit...
A little bit of a mishmash, a bit special.
A bit just rough around the edges, you know.
Yeah. Now that you say it, though, you've definitely got the Dutch look.
Thanks.
Kind of squared
the round face. I know. There's the round. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the thing. So it's Southwest Island. That's the Fox side of things. Surname Fox, Southwest. There's a whole history to that with the grandfather and a bastard child and the grandmother moving over and then the father and the mother and then there's all sorts of things going on there.
Yeah.
And then the Dutch side is it's my ancestry. I don't know a lot about it, but it goes off on the rails real quick. It's very interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And also I've decided to insert some Georgian into the old bloodline. So
nice.
My child is going to be the product of many nations.
Yeah.
There we go.
Half George, and she's a she.
And she, and all
but
the
it's
other.
the 21st century, so
it's the 41st. Yeah, it's the 20. Yeah.
So. Ultimately, underneath it all, aren't we all humans, and we all need to come under the God Emperor of mankind?
We all
and take
need to
over
follow
the galaxy.
Yeah, because you know what, we might have all our petty squabbles on planet Earth now, and all these things, and you know, I listen to punk, and you listen to pop music, and I like Taylor Swift, and you like.
I like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and I like.
Who doesn't like Taylor Swift?
I don't think anyone. I think secretly no one dislikes Taylor Swift, but I think some people might say.
I've got her on my playlist. Have you got any Tay Swift?
I haven't got any Tay on my playlist.
No,
but I would do. I wouldn't say no if I've got a bit of Ariana Grande actually on my playlists. Yeah,
I recommend Love Story. It's really good.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So some people might hate you for that, but at the end of the day, when the Tyranid Hive Fleet whatever comes knocking on the solar system, we've all got to have each other's backs.
Yeah.
So don't forget that, people. Let's unite as one.
Yeah.
Because if we really want to discriminate against something, let's do it against a gigantic alien bug force.
Yeah, screw them.
Impunity, yeah.
Except for people who chew with their mouths open.
Those guys
can go to hell. They're not part of the human race. Those people with their mouth open, screw you guys. Apart from that, we're all united. Okay?
And people that don't indicate at roundabouts. So that you're sat there, and I could have gone, but you didn't indicate. So I didn't know which way you were going. That's the whole point of the indicator.
People who drive Audis.
Audi drivers, they're also, we'll team up against them.
Well, they're the people who don't indicate at roundabouts.
Yeah. It used to be BMW drivers, but they've handed over the mantle to the Audi drivers. So welcome back into the fold, BMW drivers.
Yep.
Get out, Audi drivers.
Yep.
All right? I know you're driving a glorified Volkswagen, but you've chosen that. So, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Anyway,
what do you drive?
I drive a Honda Jazz.
Honda Jazz.
Yeah.
Nice. I drive a Hyundai.
Hyundai! They're really good.
So we're driving from the Far East then, both of us.
Yeah. And I love my little Japanese motor. Japanese engines are great. They're fantastic. I've driven a couple of Hyundais. I like them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all of these will be gone. Do they have civilian cars in the 41st millennium? They don't.
Of course they do.
Not like passenger cars, do they?
Yeah. I'm listening. I am listening to all of Eisenhorn, Ravener, Pariah on my audio thing right now.
Yeah.
I just finished Ravener Returned, which is the second book in the... I've read all these before.
Yeah,
I've listened to audio on the first time. Toby Longworth, highly recommend. 10 out of 10 with a bang. And there's a car in that. There's the marshal in that as her uncle that she looks after is an old opera guy, loads of money, retired, a bit demented, and he's got a car and it starts with a B and I forget what it's called, but it's called like, let's just make it up, it's called like a Burchell such and such and such.
Yeah.
And it's a big beast of a car and there's a car chase in it with this big Burchell such and such staring around all over the place.
Awesome.
And they're getting chased and the Inquisition like, we've got to lose them. He said, this is a Burchell such and such, nothing catches this, and boom. So yeah, there's private cars.
I want a Burchell. You know what, I just remembered, because we were talking about second edition briefly.
Yes.
One of the actual official GW models for the Genestealer cults was a limousine.
Yeah, it was.
Back in the day.
It was, do you remember?
Yeah, so you could put your Genestealer Patriarch or whatever, or Magus or whatever, could drive around in a limo. So,
dude,
fair play.
They should bring back the limousine. Do you know one of the things that they've done recently is they've released lots of like frogs, and they've released lots of dogs, and they've released lots of cyber cats. These things are selling out every time they release a pet model. Crab, whatever it is. They're gone for about 2 months because people, it's a frog, it's a thing. They should release cars as well.
Yes, I would get some.
Yeah.
And you could. They should release a car for every different army. So
I know,
like, depending on what they were. Maybe this is a whole episode we're talking about here. But there's you could, like, orcs have got cars already. They don't get a car.
Yeah.
But like the Imperium should have the whole range of like muscle cars or sports cars or whatever you fancy, and you can put your like HQ units in them. That'd be sweet. Man.
A limousine, the Beast, the Thing, some kind of Batmobile, Lambo thing from Batman Begins. That one, you know, the Batmobile in the Thing from Batman Begins, the Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
That thing in 40K with missile launchers on it would look cool.
Because like one of the things we don't ever get to see is like Space Marines in their downtime, when they're not wearing their, they wear like monks robes and stuff. What if they just throw on some gym shorts and a t-shirt and jump in a ride and just go for a little cruise around? Yeah, I think they should be allowed a bit of R&R like that.
They should definitely have some R&R, yeah.
And you could definitely have like a mission, like they could release the models like Space Marine in a Burchell 500, right?
Yeah.
And he's just in there in his shorts, and you could have it like, you could set up for scenarios where the base got attacked in the middle of the night and they weren't preparing it, and then this guy in his Burchell had to zoom back from the nightclub or whatever they do.
Yeah, he's out partying. He's getting his head down.
But he's got to get back to this fight. So he comes on from reserves on like one of the table edges in his Burchell, and he just spins up, bolt pistol out the window, still in his civvies. That would be wicked.
Say, however, he's not a car driver. Say he's more of a Vespa kind of guy. Space Marines zipping in from the side on some Vespas.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old Space Marine bikes were close enough as it was. You know what I mean? They definitely would go on a Vespa.
They would.
Yeah.
Armoured Vespa.
An armoured Vespa, yeah. It's got to have like a hunter-killer missile on it or something, just to make it,
Yeah. Space Marines on Vespas, that's something we need to see.
Yeah. I've got two things to say.
Right.
Before we get on to the actual subtopic of this
Have we
podcast.
Got a topic?
We've got a topic.
I thought we turned the camera on and started talking at each other rather than to each other.
Yeah, there was that. But the two things I want to say was, first of all, one, I am making my way. I'm making my way through the Siege of Terror, and I've started again. I've started at the beginning. I listened to all of the first wall, and I've gone back again to the what's the first book called? The Solar War. Which is great so far, and one of the things that really excited me was the visual of describing. It's quite near the beginning. They're like neutron cannons on the ships that fire 50-meter diameter shells, and I just thought, could you imagine that's ridiculous. That's
half the size of a football field.
Yeah, and that they're just shooting that at each other.
Yeah,
And because of that, I then downloaded Battlefleet Gothic 2, the video game, and I was floating around in space with the Imperium, and I was shooting people. It was great fun. But anyway, I saw someone kind of turn their nose up at the idea of people listening to books on Audible. Now, we've already, I think in the last episode, we were like, get the books on Audible, stick them on, do your painting session, listen to your audiobooks, you'll get through them, it's great, blah, 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 blah. And there are some people out there who still think that maybe it doesn't count as reading. Now, I want to point out something. Your modern, newfangled written word came along and ruined the ancient art of the spoken story, right?
Exactly.
Before that stupid modern mumbo-jumbo written word came around, we used to sit around and we used to listen to stories told by each other. Okay? So we're just going back to our roots.
Exactly. Before that newfangled that printing press in the 1400s came along, it was all the spoken word. No one knew how to read and write.
Yeah. Before you were scratching things into a clay tablet that we had to look at with our eyes and say out loud because we hadn't yet adapted to speaking in our own heads, we were using the spoken word. It used to be known as a skill to read in your own head because no one could. It was an actual skill. Like people would sit there and they'd read out loud so they could hear the words, and it was like, yeah, that's normal. And if someone sat there staring at the written word and didn't say anything, it would be like, is Dave all right? Is he broken?
It was a bit like 40k. Only the mercantile bankers and the priesthood knew how to read and write. Everyone else didn't know how to read and write for all of human evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Audible is actually a story in its purest form.
Beautifully said.
There we go.
Yeah.
Go download Audible. I thoroughly recommend it. For those who like to read, I've got no problem with that. It's lovely. Reading is lovely. It's a lovely, cosy thing to do.
Yes.
But for those who want to also be productive and listen to stories, there is no shame in being listeners of stories. And people out there have mastered the art of narration. It's an art form. You're enjoying their performance. Some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
Jonathan Keeble is great, but he only has one voice that he does for like robotic character or augmented characters.
Both Jonathan Keeble and Toby Longworth, those two smash it out of the park. I've got time for John Banks as well, but he's not as good. But there's a difference. I've said it before as well. The best narrators sound like they're telling you a story.
Yes.
The ones who aren't the best sound like they're reading you a story.
Yes.
And Toby Longworth and Jonathan Keeble both sound like they're telling you a story.
The best narrator, though, for Audible is Andrew Wincott, by the way.
He's not around that much.
He's not around that much, but he is objectively the best. He's a TV actor.
Yeah.
And he is...
So is Toby Longworth.
Yeah, I know. But Andrew Wincott, his voices are spectacular. They're absolutely spectacular.
I have to say that once again, as in all things, you're wrong.
Oh, right.
I mean, just like your taste in movies, just like your top fives are all wrong, you're wrong there.
Great segue. Great segue. Did you say top fives?
I did say top fives, Warsmith Chris.
That's great because tonight we're doing a top five again. And the way we do our top fives is that we come in with 3 things each for the top 5. That's 6 things. And we combine them using the power of argument and debate. And me telling Winters how wrong he is and him learning from my words.
I think
and we choose 5 things. And not only that, but those 5 things become the official top 5.
The official top 5. Games Workshop watch this show. They listen to this show. They know what we're talking about. And when we say something is the top 5 of all times, it gets an official Games Workshop stamp and it becomes the official top 5 of all time.
Of all time. And we've gone for something pretty bloody major this week.
Yes.
We are doing the top 5 Space Marine chapters of... including successor chapters.
Yes.
In 40k, obviously. That's where the chapters are. And I've got
chapters 40k. Pin in the comment section below when this STC actually starts. Someone write 30 minutes in. They actually
24, 23. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Right.
Well, it won't be that because there'll be an intro and stuff. But you know.
Is that okay? Right.
Look, it'll be roughly around now. Yeah, we're going to do the best chapters, and I think we also need to specify our criteria for why they're the best, because we didn't say that. We just said the best Space Marine chapters.
I told you the best, just the best.
Yeah,
around nothing in the world can make you down.
Mine speak for themselves anyway, so it's fine.
I said just pick the best, and I didn't care what criteria you would bring to this debate, this argument, this agreement, this thing. Just the best. Whatever criteria you want to underscore as best.
Yeah.
It could be on the tabletop, it could be painting-wise, it could be lore-wise, it could be the best.
Yeah.
Because the best speak for themselves. A bit like Jaffa cakes,
If you have made it this far, before we tell you what our top 5 is,
yes,
why don't you pause the video, tell us what your number 1 best Space Marine chapter is, including successors, all available chapters available in the 41st millennium.
Yeah.
And look like one sentence as to why they're the best.
Okay.
And don't pick. No, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put. No. I'm not going to put a slant on it. You put it in now, and then we'll see what we get at the end. So, do you want to go first this time with your number 3?
These are not in order. We don't do the number 1 and here's the 5th. These are in the top 5.
Then we force them into an order, though, right?
Have we done that?
Yeah,
I thought
we definitely have a number 1.
Have we?
Yeah, when we said that the Adeptus Militarum were the number 1.
Well, sometimes we have, but most of the time it's like in the conversation.
This is the top
like
5.
Bellical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. When we're talking about the best 40k chapters of all time, we don't just talk about, this is not just core chapters, the
successes, all the Space Marines.
Anything.
Yeah.
To my mind, the first thing, when you said this, the first thing that flashed into my mind was, I need something so grim in the dark, so brutalist, so much skulls, so much flames, so much black, so much horror, so much stuff that we don't even know, because there's all the good stuff in 40k we don't even know the answers to, and straight out my brain came the Legion of the Damned.
Okay.
Damn, son.
I'll give you my initial response.
Yeah.
And you can come back with what you believe.
Legion
of the Damned. Okay, they're cool. They had a thing in the past, and they got flames on them, and they're all suspicious and weird. And what's going on with them? In terms of a Space Marine force in the 41st millennium, right? They're unreliable. They're hard to get hold of. They're already dead. They're pissing about in the warp, which is, you don't want to be trusting people that piss about in the warp in the first place. They're effectively ghosts. Ghosts aren't even real, so effectively they're not real. We don't, like you said, we don't know much about them. I don't think there is much about them that stands up to a flesh and blood, any old flesh and blood Space Marine chapter. And I'm going to stand by that from the start.
Right. Okay.
So why are they so good then? Go on.
Okay, so I hear all your reasons. Like everything that's going to come up in this, in the top 5, by the way, all these chapters are cool. All the ones that we're going to talk about are cool.
Yeah.
So you go along, right? You're little Chrissy. You go along to your local gaming club.
Yeah.
And you set down your little Necrons or your little whatever you've got, and there's some Blood Angels in front of you. Yeah, some stinky Blood Angels. Or you set down and there's some stinky Death Watch in front of you, or some Space Wolves, or whatever it might be.
Yep.
And you play against those Space Marines.
Yeah.
And then one week you go along, and someone drops down on the battle grid in front of you some Legion of the Damned. You'll go, damn, son, what is that?
I'd say, hello, mate. The 90s want their army back. The 90s want their aesthetic back. Do you remember when people used to wear those black shirts with flames on them? It was basically the Legion of the Damned.
How cool is that? A black shirt with flames on. We need to bring that back. We need to bring that back.
I think you should bring it out in the merch shop. I think the Winter's logo, black shirt, flames, the
and
Legion
skulls.
of the Damned official Winter shirt. I would love that so much.
Legion of the Damned is so cool.
They were cool in 1993.
What do you mean they were cool?
Or
I
1994,
didn't understand that when we sat down beforehand and talked about what are we going to talk about this week? Well, let's talk about the top 5 chapters. I didn't understand that there was a ticking clock saying that, okay, anything before 2010 doesn't count. Anything after 2010 does count. I didn't understand that there was a timestamp on the rules that you set in place for this. I thought you meant the best.
Yeah, well, the
and the best is iconic. It's all time. It doesn't matter what thing. The Legion of the Damned will call in 1996. They'll be calling 2036 as well. It is the Legions of the Damned. Ghost Walker, Spirit, Ghost Rider bodies with the skulls and the flames materializing, because that isn't a word, but materializing out of the warp at the Imperium's darkest hour to turn the tide of the battle, looking cool AF while they're doing it, and slaughtering lots of snotty-nosed Iron Warriors while they're doing it too. Hot damn, on the tabletop they look good. Their lore looks good. On the thing they looks good. If someone puts down a chapter of they're the people like Legion of the Damned. I like Legion of the Damned. They scream grim in the dark to me.
All right, okay.
Is that a Megadeth t-shirt you've got on or something there?
No,
is that
it's
some
not.
Sort of,
it's not.
What is that thing that you've got written there? What is that?
It doesn't matter. Stop it.
That looks like Legion of the Damned script right there.
Yeah, it's quite hard, but I didn't say that I wasn't cringe.
What it is all the Black Library and all the painters and the John Blanches and all the great geniuses of this world, the creative people of this world, that brought this thing out of an 80s backwater sort of sci-fi weird niche that it was in, into the mainstream, so that the mainstream were talking about it with Titus and great characters like that, and Henry Cavill has taken over. The people like that, at the very core, wore t-shirts like that, and had a beard like you, and won that funny little hat that you've got on your head, and they never washed, and they had a bad dandruff program, and they listed Megadeth and AC/DC, and they went, what's cooler than that? Let's paint that on my Space Marines. Legion of the Damned, boom. Best in the world.
I sincerely appreciate your efforts for trying to upsell leftover 90s aesthetic. But the problem is that all the other chapters have been able to modernise. Their aesthetics haven't been stuck in the past.
Name one that's better than Legion of the Damned. Name one. Name one in your top 5.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay,
the first chapter I'm going to go for is the Death Watch. Right? Now, let me start. You can't... Listen, just because I completely shut down the Legion of the Damned... categorically,
they're black as well. Clearly,
they are,
and they don't the dandruff need problem, and you don't like washing.
They don't need fancy flames. Now, listen, the Death Watch. How cool is this? Okay, Space Marines are elite post-human warriors in the 41st millennium. A single Space Marine, in the lore at least, is an extremely powerful thing to contend with. A single one could go into a building, shoot all the bad guys, kick all the doors down, do whatever needs doing. Just a single Space Marine, right? A handful of them can take out like a whole city of humans, right? Amazing. Now, what if you were to reach into each of those chapters and take out an elite fighting force with a single objective to defeat the evil, wicked aliens that threaten humanity? And not only that, but you didn't just mobilize in a big army and you got Space Marine and all the tanks and everything. You put them in ships and in kill teams of like 5 guys, and they go down to a planet and they infiltrate and they kill like the Tyranid bug boss, or they kill the Tau general. This is like the SAS of Space Marines. I think that there is probably not a lot cooler than that. Than elite people, than an elite warrior group having more elite people taken out of it into a super elite specialized combat force.
Okay, thank you for watching the STC podcast. I am Winters. This is Warsmith Chris. He's my special friend, and sometimes he doesn't understand the assignment. So sometimes when we talk about like, for example, today, we're talking about the top 5 Space Marine chapters. He decides to pick something that's not even a chapter.
Oh.
Which is the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Xenos. Which is a amalgamation of different Space Marines from different chapters that are brought together as a fighting force as the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Xenos to begin their long vigil, to do things that the Ordo Xenos want them to do, but it's not essentially a chapter. So we'll stick a pin in that one, move that one off to one side, and we're going to ask once again, Warsmith Chris, pick a Space Marine chapter that is in the top 5 chapters.
I will argue that it is a super chapter because it has representatives from all the chapters.
Are you arguing it's a super chapter because you want to win the debate about it being a really big chapter? Because it's not really a big chapter. I mean, here's the thing. Here's a chapter, right? A chapter has a Primarch as its progenitor. There's different chapters and successor chapters that fall under the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, the Salamanders, and they can all trace their lineage back to Primarch. Who is the Primarch of the Death Watch?
Who is the Primarch of the Silver Skulls?
Some Primarchs are not known, but the Primarchs are...
Who is the Primarch of the Blood Ravens? Probably
the Blood Ravens is Sanguinius. Silver Skulls was probably Ultramarines. But the Death Watch have up to 9 different Primarchs because they're not a chapter, they're the Chamber Militant.
Okay, so what's better than having one Primarch?
They didn't exist in the first founding. They were brought about after the War of the Beast with the Inquisition. They don't count. Now, the Death Watch are really cool. A whole army of veterans. Everyone in the Death Watch is a veteran. You don't get any line grunts. You don't get any tactical marines. You don't get any ultramarines. You have to be a veteran, and you have to be someone. And it's an honor. It's an honor to join them.
Or you end up as those
Space Marine. They don't even have a codex. All their rules are legendary.
That is a low blow. That is a horrible thing to say.
We're talking about chapters. They're not a chapter. They don't have a codex.
They did have a codex, and they took it away from us. All right, fine.
I'm sorry, it was bad news.
All right, coming at me with technicalities. That's fine.
Right.
That's fine. What else? So far, you've come up with who's the Primarch of the Legion of the Damned?
So my second Space Marine chapter, which is the greatest of all time. The best. Yep. Now, originally, I'm going to throw you a curveball right now, Chris. Are you ready to catch this?
Oh, I'm going to do this to you too.
Are you ready to catch this?
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say the Salamanders.
Yeah, but you knew I had
the Salamanders because they're the only Space Marine chapter
because they're trash
heroes.
Yeah, green trash. Yeah.
But I'm not going to say the Salamanders anymore. No. Because I actually went away and had a thought while I was having a lovely poo. And then it popped into my head. Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I think of this? Why didn't it occur to me? There is the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights are an epic Space Marine chapter. I watched John Wick last night. Not last night, but the night before. Did you pick the Grey Knights? You picked the Grey Knights.
No. I didn't pick the Grey Knights.
John Wick, and there's a whole speech in John Wick 1 about Baba Yaga. Like, John Wick is the person that you send to kill the people that do the nasty things.
Yes.
The Grey Knights are the things that the demons fear.
Yes.
The Grey Knights are a cool Space Marine chapter. Now, in the rules, they've never got it right, Grey Knights, except 6th edition Grey Knights. They got 6th edition Grey Knights correct because there were about a third more points than any other Space Marine chapter. It doesn't care if you pick Blood Angels, Ultramarines, whatever chapter you picked. If you picked a basic Grey Knight, it cost like a third more in points than the other Space Marine chapters as standard. And that's where the Grey Knights were, and that's where the Grey Knights should be. In 10th edition, whatever force you put down on the battlefield, if you put down a Grey Knight force, it should be about a third less stuff. than all the other things. Why? Because all of them have power weapons, all of them have stormbolters, all of them can teleport around all over the place, and they don't wait for the demons to come in our reality and hide on the bed and go ooga booga booga. They jump into the warp and fight demons in their own reality.
I've got a question.
One of them's got a goddamn sword which has got a demon in it, and the reason why he's holding onto the sword with the god Crow is holding onto the sword with a demon in it because he can't. In anyone else's hand, it will pervert them, it will corrupt them. It is a demonic sword. So he's so pure of mind that he holds onto this demonic sword.
Keep it
and
safe.
It's always tempting. Always keep it secret, keep it safe. It's the one ring. It's always whispering every second, every minute of every hour of every day, all the time. And Crow is unbreakable with this sword, and he's holding on to it. It's the Grey Knights. When you talk about the SAS, and he said Death Watch, I spit on that. Spit on that. The SAS of the Space Marine chapters, the best of the best, who go where no one has gone before, who know no fear, is the Grey Knights.
Right, I need a lore lesson from you.
Yes.
Okay, so the Grey Knights are a part of Ordo Malleus, right? The Inquisition's Ordo Malleus. Explain
sort of,
to me,
but not sort of.
why Grey Knights are a chapter.
Yes.
And tell me who their Primarch is. And tell me why they are a chapter and Deathwatch aren't a chapter.
So I don't think you need to worry about any of the arguments that I put down about the Death Watch, which seemed to circle back to me. I didn't think that through.
Yeah,
maybe I shouldn't have used those things. I stand by the thing that the Death Watch aren't a chapter.
Yeah.
But the Grey Knights...
I could agree with that, yeah.
The Grey Knights are all Psykers, and they definitely are a chapter. And Malcador made them, and Malcador is cool. And they live on Titan, and they have their own Forge world. The other thing about the Grey Knights is there's been many chapter masters with many chapters. Like Dante is the last one in the long line. Calgar is the last one in the long line. There's been many chapter masters. Here's the thing that you might not know about the Grey Knights. There's only been 2 Grandmasters.
Oh, really?
Grandmaster Janus, who was a Thousand Sun, by the way.
Yeah.
He was a member of the Thousand Suns chapter. Janus changed his name after the thing. And then there was Caldor Drago. They are so badass. There was one... and now another one.
No, another one. I believe a bunch of the
Knights Errant, Malcador, that thing, the buried
Night
dagger,
Lords ended up. A bunch of loyal Night Lords ended up in the Grey Knights as well, because they had their foundings back in the Horus Heresy days, of course.
It's a bit like the Minotaurs. There's a few. See, the Grey Knights. So. To become an Ultramarine, you need Guilliman's bits inside of you. Yeah. Okay? If you want to become a Blood Angel, you need Sanguinius's bits deep inside of you. But for every 1,000 aspirants, 1 makes a Blood Angel, 1 makes an Ultramarine.
Mm-hmm.
But for every 1,000 potential Space Marines, 1 makes a Grey Knight. Because they're all Psykers. They will draw from whatever the black ships manage to bring in.
Yes.
So there are bits of gene seed, bits of stuff from all over the place, because it isn't about the promogenoid gland first. It's about
the psychic power.
It's about the purity of will. It's about it doesn't matter how many. Warsmith Chris, right? You're hungry.
Yep.
You're trapped in your room. Someone's locked you in and thrown away the key, and all you've got is a bucket of water in the corner of the room to drink from, and another bucket in the corner to pee in.
Yes.
And you got hungry after a couple of days, and someone put some poisoned hobnobs in front of you, and you're like, no, they're poisoned. And then the next day, someone puts a poisoned kebab in front of you, like, no, they're poisoned. It doesn't matter how much stuff I tempt you with. Some juicy fruits, some blackjacks, some old school 10p wham bars.
Oh, wow.
Do you want a wham bar? And you're like, no, I'm not eating the wham bar, even though you're starving. And
I don't know what flavour it is, but I'm not eating it. Yeah.
You can't remember the flavour of wham bar.
What flavour? No, I know what they taste like, but what flavour were they? I had no idea. They're like a salted flavour.
I don't know. I don't know what flavour wham bars are. All I know they were amazing.
Refresher bars were lemon and strawberry.
Fireballs. In the packets of 3, you get fireballs and you get sour balls.
Yep. And
no, you can't, mate.
Can
you get them God damn it! I want a packet of Fireballs now.
And they had those super sour ones, and
I know.
they used to make you dribble so much. You're like,
damn it! Why don't they do those anymore?
And little refresher bars, which were delicious, and then there was the big refresher bars, and the fruit salads, and the blackjacks.
Do you think with kids these days, right, and on the internets and all the scrolling and all the things, and do you think like sour balls and fireballs will be considered some kind of childhood cruelty or something these days?
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, my mum used to give me like a 20p.
Yeah.
And I could go over to the post office and get 20 pence worth of sweets, which was actually a horrendous amount of sugar now I think about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's 20 individual sweets. And if I went for some 2p ones, it'd be slightly less. But that's quite a lot in a little paper bag. And they seem to be... The appeal was how much they messed you up. So, like super sour balls. I can't remember what they're called. There was pear drops as well. There was acid drops. That was it. There were those sour little... You could get them from a jar, and they were called acid drops.
And nowadays, kids don't go to the shops because they don't know that anything exists beyond their phone, do they? No. It's just they don't. Yeah.
But
what does 20p get you these days?
Nothing.
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 When was the last time you saw a 20 pence piece? Honestly.
I mean, I haven't used cash.
Yeah, that's right. 20p. What?
Has it got 6 sides? I don't know. Do people use money?
People don't use money anymore. You click on the thing. You only ever type in your thing once, and then you click on the thing, and then for the rest of time, you just click the thing, and then the item arrives. It's easy.
To be fair, though, I mean, no money and just clicking on the things, that's a good thing.
Yeah, because then you get the things you want, and you don't have to think about what that means to you. Like... The implication of purchasing that thing.
Do you remember when, like, you were very small and you had coins and you'd put them in your mouth, and your mum would say, "Don't put them in your mouth because they'll kill you," because people touched all the things. I don't know how many coins I stuck in my ear, up my nose, up my bum, in my mouth when I was a child. But look at me, I'm perfectly fine.
You turned out fine, yeah. So, yeah.
I think that was a lie.
So the Grey Knights are all right.
What?
If we
all
ignore all of the diatribe that came out of you when I was talking about Deathwatch, and we accept that both the Legion of the Damned and the Grey Knights are official chapters, right, and criteria for this, because what we've said so far is that the best Space Marines are the fancy different ones, right?
Dude, the Grey Knights are the best.
I like Grey Knights.
Sanctioned by Malkador, the Sigilites. Yeah. They were part of the Terminus Sanction.
Yes. They fire mind bullets.
They were to fight the war after the war had been lost. The end and the death. They fire mind bullets. They have side cannon weaponry, which is encrusted with ash that sheds from the Golden Throne itself.
Wow.
I mean, dude, they go into the warp. They don't wait for the demons to come out of the warp. They go into the warp and fuck up the demons in their own home territory. I mean, come on.
Some of them strap themselves to big robot like daddies, and then they walk around that, and the big robot just holds an even bigger sword. Like, they don't need to have that. They don't need that. That's just to make them bigger so they can fight demons. No, I like Grey Knights. I think they're great.
Exactly like it is an Avatar with those walkie suits. But it's original IP, 100% original. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that, yeah.
Grey Knights are cool.
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool. Wouldn't say they were in the top 5 best cool, but, you know.
Well, what would you say is in the top 5 best?
I've backed myself into a corner here because, let me tell you the truth.
Right.
I initially thought it was me Blood Angels.
Right.
I initially wanted to bring Blood Angels to the table, and I'll tell you why. Because as a chapter, they are, I think in the current timeline, they're a little bit slimmed down a bit because of things that have happened. That's fine. Their leader their chapter master is a very cool character in the lore.
He is.
Right? Dante is a legend. Yes. He is now in charge of his own section of space. That's how special he is.
Yes.
He's been gifted that by, at the time, the only loyal Primarch that had shown up at the time came and bestowed this upon him.
Yes.
Dante's amazing.
Dante's a beast. I grant you that. But he is not a chapter. But he is a beast.
Chapter, the Blood Angels. Okay, so they've got a few problems, but we're talking about an elite fighting force in lore here. An elite fighting force that, okay, their unstable gene seed means that sometimes they go wrong, but they've thought of ways to mitigate this and to use that to their benefit. And anything that can turn you into a more violent killing machine in a future that's literally, there is only war in this time period, right? So if your elite soldiers have a genetic trait that makes them more killy without having to pledge themselves to the god of being more killy, right? You've got something special here. Vampires, kind of cool, depending on what era we're talking about.
The vampire stuff is the inspiration, but they're not really vampires.
They're not vampires.
They're not really vampires.
I know.
That's for people who don't understand 40k.
Yes, I know. They're
so
angels' teeth. Yeah, I get it. And
it's their Belfast gland is.
They come out.
Yeah, but it's a thing. But they're not.
And they go
really
in coffins. They're not vampires. They do.
The inspiration, the genesis comes from that
Yeah.
idea. In the same way that Space Wolves come from Vikings, that
Yeah.
genesis of the thing comes from that idea. So, and the same way that Khan and the White Scars comes from the Mongolian. There's a genesis somewhere that allows the hook to sink in.
Yes, sir.
But true people in the Warhams. No, they're not Mongolians. No, they're not
Yes.
Okay. So, pardon me. Move on.
Yeah. So we know. Yeah, we know that. Thanks. They just share a lot in common with vampire tropes.
Yes.
Including the teeth.
I don't like the vampire trope.
Yeah, including getting into special coffins that give them
deep
blood. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
it's not Blood Angel.
And wanting to drink aqua vitae or whatever it is. Blood.
They also like Schweppes.
They like, yeah. Forget about all that though.
Yeah.
That is a cool additional feature to them.
Yeah.
But actually, when I was thinking about it,
okay,
this is such a controversial entry, but I'm going to say it anyway. I actually really think the Imperial Fists are important to the. Hey, listen. But I'm not going to argue for them because it's Blood Angels. But
Can I say?
We're going to lead out of that.
Can I say what I was going to say?
All right, go on then.
You know, with all that run up into Blood Angels.
Yeah.
A little bit inside my brain was going, I hope he doesn't say Flesh Terrors. I hope he doesn't say Flesh Terrors because all the things you said about Blood Angels are cool and they're one of the best.
Yeah.
But they're not quite there.
Yeah.
Because they haven't got that inner. Argh. And the people who've got that inner.
I mean, they do have the inner.
So Flesh Terrors are cooler, better in every way, shape, and form than Blood Angels. And if you'd have said Flesh Terrors, I'd have jumped on that and gone, God damn it, the Flesh Terrors are definitely one of the best chapters
Flesh Terrors
in Warhammer 40k for all the reasons that you're going to like Blood Angels. Plus, it's like Solpadine Plus. It's like Anadim Plus. It's like Ibuprofen Plus. It's like all those things plus. Flesh Terrors are Blood Angels in every way, shape, and form. Plus, but you didn't say Flesh Terrors. You dropped the ball. You dribbled at the last thing.
I'll tell you why I didn't say Flesh
Fists.
Terrors.
Why didn't you say? You said Imperial Fists, and I'm not just upset right now. I'm just a little bit disappointed in you.
No, listen.
I'm not upset. I'm disappointed.
Gabriel Seth, I've had some problems with. I like him. He's great. I love his character. Where have you gone?
I dropped a thing. I need to find the thing. I'm listening to you. I've got the thing.
But I can't give it to Flesh Terrors because Gabriel Seth doesn't quite reach the line compared to Dante.
But we're not talking
We're doing the whole chapter.
We're not talking about the top 5 chapter masters. We're talking about the top 5 chapters.
Yes.
In the top 5 chapter masters, Dante's up there, and I'll agree with you and I won't argue with you. He's a beast. But we're not talking chapter masters. We're talking chapters.
All right. Forget about it. What's your
Imperial Fists? Imperial Fists. Look,
I told you I'm not going with it. I did think about it. I'm not going with Imperial Fists, and I will say what for. Soon, when it's my next turn, I will say why.
I'll give you a reason why it can't be the Blood Angels, because they've got one defective gene, which is the Belcher's gland. Imperial Fists have 2 defective genes, so they're not pure. They're not. It's
not about purity. This isn't a purity test, mate. We're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
When you talk about the best, there's 2 things defective with them. It's like buying your Audi and you're trying to cut everyone up, and you're trying to indicate, but the windows don't work.
Okay, right, yeah.
Or the catalytic converter doesn't work, or whatever it might be. The Imperial Fists have got 2 defects.
In
their genes.
Heating just doesn't... It never gets warm enough in there. It's all right in the summer, terrible in the winter.
The Susan membrane doesn't work either. You know the thing when Space Marines form into a comatose state and float through the void, and they get coated in the thing, and they can get picked up 1,000 years later and they don't have that in Imperial Fists. They're a defective, poor Space Marine chapter hiding behind their walls. They're definitely not in the top 5. Flesh Terrors, though, I would have put in. I'm glad you didn't say it. I'm glad you didn't say it.
Okay. Go on then. What's your big shot?
Along with the Not Salamanders, Grey Knights, and along with the Legion of the Damned, which are my 2, Grey Knights and Legion of the Damned, which I think we can all agree, and everyone in the comment section agree, that the Grey Knights are like the SAS of. There's a bit in the Uriel Ventrius. It was trilogy, but now it's 5 books. Where Uriel Ventrius himself, with the Ultramarines, goes up against a Grey Knight, and they battle it out for Demon Taint, and Euroventrament gets his ass kicked, and he says, "I failed, I'm sorry, you must execute me now." And the Grey Knight says, no, because he's battling against the Grey Knight. He says, no, the fact that you lost means that you're pure, because if you were able to beat me, then I would execute you. That's how cool the Grey Knights are.
Right.
So we can all agree that the Grey Knights are absolutely cool, and Legion of the Damned are cool. And then the third, the best Space Marine chapter, in the number 1 spot of Space Marine chapters, is the Ultramarines.
This better be bloody good, mate. Go on then.
In the time of the Horus Heresy, during the Black Library book series, the Horus Heresy, you may have heard of it. It's a good series.
I've heard a few things.
Yeah. Throughout the Horus Heresy book series, it's referred to again and again and again that the one legion in which all the other Space Marine legions were compared was the Sons of Horus. Some had things better, some had things better, but there is Horus the Warmaster, there are the Sons of Horus, their achievements, the other Space Marine chapters, even if they didn't want to. There's a good one in the Dark Angels Primarch book where the Lion is berating his inner circle because he doesn't want to even compare himself against the Sons of Horus, but he has to because they're the benchmark.
Right, okay.
That's in 30k.
Yep.
In 40k, the one chapter in which all other chapters have to compare themselves is the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines guard the distant shore. The Ultramarines Primarch is the first returned Primarch. The Ultramarine have the best characters. You're in the 41st millennium. They have Uriel Ventress, they have Manius Calgar, they have Titus. Who leads Space Marine 1, Space Marine 2 video games? Titus. Who doesn't have any defects? When you talk about the Imperial Fists and they have 2 flaws in the promogenoid glands, they have 2, the Ultramarines don't. If you compare, like, McDonald's is everywhere. Yeah. Okay? McDonald's is the most successful, the best franchise for fast food in the world. If there was a better one, they would be in more places, Now, you might not like to eat McDonald's every day. I get it, but they are everything, still... But quite clearly, they took over the world, they won.
Yeah.
And there is a reason why Guilliman and the Ultramarines and the Emperor said, like, you guys guide the Eastern Shore. You guys guard the Far Shore. There's the reason why these guys are the benchmark upon which all other Space Marines are measured. You talk to Tiny Timmy, who comes into the store, into the Warhams, and said, I'd like the Warhams. I want to play Space Marines. Here's some Space. He thinks they are blue. He thinks they are Ultramarines.
Yeah.
The Ultramarines. A little bit of me when I was thinking of this, it's like, is it really? I was like, it can't be the Ultramarines, right? Because of the Blood Angels, and the Dark Angels are cool with their robes and their thing. A little bit of me, and I was trying to argue, like, it can't be the Ultramarines. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. I was trying to break down all the counter arguments, but it is. It's the Ultramarines. If the Galaxy, if the Horus Heresy, if the Galaxy, I mean, you got the guys over here. If all 50% of the chapters and all the successor chapters that inhabit the 41st millennium right now, they say 50% is the number, can trace their lineage back to Guilliman, their Ultramarine successors. So half
spreads his seed around
of every Space Marine that exists, he spread his seed all over the place. That's how good they are. And I was thinking, like, you could, the Octavius sector. There's loads of things that happened in the history of the 41st millennium and prior to the 41st millennium that would be over, that wouldn't have even happened if the Ultramarines were the... There's the things with... God damn it. There's the things with Ullanor, not Ullanor, what's it called now? Armageddon. That's the... Armageddon is Ullanor. And the Black Templars and the Black Reach and all the things that happened there. All that stuff wouldn't have happened if it was just the Ultramarines there. There would have been no infighting. They've never once rebelled against the Empire of Man like the Space Wars have. They've never once done it. If every space... It's just the Ultramarines. They're just... And I don't like the fact that it is, by the way. There's a little part of me that rebels against it.
I'm with you. And I'll tell you what.
But it is the Ultramarines, god damn it, and it pisses me off that it is.
Yeah. But I think the Ultramarines are suffering from success, right? They're suffering from their own success because, they're the poster boys 40k. They had the first living.
I'm going to stop you right there. Why are they the poster Marines?
Well, that's what I'm getting
because they're
to.
the best.
Because whatever his name was, Matt Ward, or whatever his name was.
It wasn't a Matt Ward thing.
He really pushed for Ultramarines.
No. Ultramarines first started appearing on the box art for... So you've got art for 40k, right?
Yeah.
There's different ways of playing 40k miniatures. There's the grimdark design, there's the John Blanche, more humanistic design, and then there's this wicked edge highlighting design that you get on the box art. And the reason why they came up with the box art white dwarf design is because it looks good on the box art, but it doesn't actually look really good. When you look at some box art 40k miniatures in front of you, and I have, they look a bit weird.
Yeah.
But they came up with that design for the box art, and they picked blue because it is the most appealing on the box art. It isn't because it's all sell you shit. They picked that color, that legion, that thing because of the. It's not. Anyway.
In the lore,
Yes.
Thanks for that. In the lore, it's kind of like choosing Tesco plain white toasty bread, right?
Right. I like that. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that bread.
No.
You can toast it.
Yeah.
It's designed to fit in a toaster.
Yeah.
It's bread. You can have butter on it. It does what it's supposed to do well. It does it with no frills, nothing extra. Doesn't poison you. Doesn't do anything bad to you. Just serves its purpose. It's like water for hydration. Water is the best thing to rehydrate you, right?
It's the best thing.
Unless you're really dehydrated and you need like electrolytes and stuff. But water is the hydration fluid. But that's all it does, right? It's just very good at hydration. There are other beverages that you can drink which taste delicious and probably don't hydrate you very much or make it a little bit worse. But they're better in that sense. Ultramarines are the standard service agreement. They get the things done. They are the admin team. They're the admin team that pay all your invoices on time. They've got the payroll department there. They pay you on the same day every month, the correct amount. They don't make a mistake. It's great. There's nothing... You don't want to be them. You don't want to hang out with them. But you couldn't survive without them. And that's why I kind of agree with what you're saying about Ultramarines.
You kind of agree with me. Ultramarines are the water of Space Marines.
They are the water. They need to be there. They need to be
the best way of hydrating yourself.
Yeah. If your criteria is who are the coolest, they don't win. If it's who are the meanest, the bravest, the strongest, the fastest, they don't win any of them. But who's the best Space Marine chapter holding the Imperium together? It might well be Ultramarines.
1 minute. Is this my gamble in the top 3 that I had? And it was a gamble saying Ultramarines, and you're actually agreeing with me?
Well, I would do, apart from all of this gets blown out the water by my top pick, right?
1 minute though. But Ultramarines is in the top 5.
They're going to be in the top 5.
I don't like the idea, by the way, that they're in the top 5.
No one does.
You hate the idea that they're in the top 5, but they are in the top 5.
Everyone watching this now is like, eye rolling, tutting.
Yeah.
But think about it, people.
Yeah.
This is the official top 5 the Games Workshop are going to use. Yeah. They're going to agree with it too.
Yeah.
And Titus is amazing. I tell you what, after Space Marine 2 came out, how many people painted an Ultramarine?
Dude.
I painted an Ultramarine. I wanted to get a whole Ultramarine army, and I just painted one. And I went, no, you know what, I'm not going to paint more than one.
Dude.
But yeah, like Ultramarines.
They are one of the best Space Marine chapters for many different reasons. Like water, there's many different reasons why they're not the coolest, the sharpest, the funnest, but they are the best. And there's a reason why the Emperor said, you guys got, okay, we both hate the fact that we agree on this.
Yes.
But we agree on this.
But this chapter
is
a successor chapter. My chapter that I'm putting forward is de facto the best, though. Objectively the best for so many reasons, but I'll give you a few. The Imperial Fists may not be a top 5 chapter in themselves. I didn't go with the Imperial Fists. I did stick with Blood Angels, but I was thinking about Imperial Fists. But really, what I should have thought about is the lineage. What's come out of the Imperial Fists? Okay, Crimson Fists. Absolutely love Crimson Fists. They might have got a bit wrecked by some orcs, but they are now elite orc killers. They might only have like one ship floating around a no home world, but they're cool, right? There's a bunch of other ones. Mainly Ultramarines get all the successes. That's fine. There's one successor chapter of the Ultramarines I absolutely love, and it is, what are they called? The Mortifactors, the ones where their planet was, they're literally like cannibal, like insane scavengers, and they eat bones and stuff, and then they
Praetors of Orpheus are like that as well. There's a couple of Ultramarine successors that
they're just like nuts people. But the Mortifactors are cool.
Mortifactors are cool.
But the best
skulls as well, by the way.
Yeah,
they love their skulls.
Yes, Silver Skulls.
Cool.
People say they're an Ultramarine successor. I'm still absolutely adamant that they have Dantioch's mask on their shoulder pad. I won't let people say it's not. It's Dantioch's iron mask on their shoulder pad. Anyway,
it could be because Pharos, Praetus of Dantioch. It could be. To be fair, it could be.
I think there's something there.
He was buried with all honours by the Primarch himself on Pharos in that book, and I shed a little bit of tear. And it could be Dantioch.
And Dantioch
just
was
because
a good
he
lad.
was an Iron Warrior, it doesn't mean he was a traitor. I mean, no one calls Loken a traitor. No one calls Nathaniel Garrow a traitor. There were many people born with the wrong Primarch who were loyal. Then
Dantioch was betrayed by the Iron Warriors.
Not the other way around.
He was horrendously he was aged horrendously fighting the Hrud, and then Perturabo, despite everything he gave and all the fighting he did, Perturabo basically consigned him to being a janitor. And
what is that short story where he drops the whole thing? That is one of the best short stories in the whole of the Horus Heresy series. Is it called Iron Within? I'm not sure, but the one where he defends that entire and takes over and exploits it.
Yeah,
I'm going to research it after this.
I can't remember the name of it.
It's amazing, and I want to listen to it again. Dantioch is a G.
Dantioch goes off and builds this cool fortress. He's a mastermind of building fortresses and stuff as well. And yeah, he gets discarded, and he manages to escape with some boys, and ends up with the whole Pharos stuff. You need to read Pharos. I didn't really want to spoil it, but
Dan Took defeats 2 exploratory fleets.
Yes.
The first one in the short story where he drops the whole thing, and Titans and Empirical. He defeats it. And then in Pharos, he defeats the entire Night Lord's fleet with the explosion at the end.
Yes.
Twice. One guy. He probably has the highest, but more than Locum, more than Garrow, more than Sevatar, more than Khan. He has the highest body count per one legionary than any other legionary in the entire canon of 40k, 30k that I can ever think of.
Yeah.
That guy is a G.
There is also there's a rumor that, because after he aged horrendously, he was aged like a very large amount of time in the future. And he looked awful.
Yeah.
There's apparently he forged his mask, and whilst it was still hot from the forge fires, he wedged it on his face and then dunked his whole head in the cold water so that it was permanently on him, because he just looked so rank beforehand. But that mask, stylized Iron Warrior's mask that he created, it's on the Silver Skull shoulder pad. There's something to that. We'll see how it is. Whether it's just an honorary thing or whether there's a bit of secret Pert Ribo gene seed there, I don't know. But anyway, that aside, I haven't even got to my thing yet.
Yep.
In Pharos, he hangs out with someone who would later become the first captain of the Crimson Fists. Or the successor of the thing.
First chapter master of the Crimson Fist.
The chapter master, yeah, sorry. Yeah. However, I'm going for one of my favourite Gs in the Horus Heresy series is Sigismund. And because of Sigismund, we have the Black Templars. Now, the Black Templars in the 41st millennium are basically the closest thing we have to a legion of old, due to their exploit of the Ultramarines rules. And that is that because they're on an eternal crusade, they can keep recruiting, and their numbers actually far exceed 1,000. That's cool for a start. We have an absolutely huge amount of extremely zealous, super tight with the ecclesiarchy Space Marines who are just eternally crusading, eternally out there fighting the enemies of the Imperium of Man. It's very cool. The Order at the very forefront of it was Sigismund. Very cool character. Their ways of fighting come from another amazing character, Khan, before he went insane, before he was taken over by Khorne, and before the nails tore through his brain too much. Him and Sigismund used to hang out, and he taught Sigismund his fighting techniques and chaining your weapon to your arm, things like that, which Sigismund brought into the Black Templars that would be. They're just cool in every possible way, and they are a huge force defending the Imperium with zealot passion. What say you, sir?
I'm suggesting, look, in the top 5 Space Marine chapters of all time, are you suggesting that a bunch of ultra-religious ISIS, Ku Klux Klan, Mormon, swinging Protestant, jibber religious fundamentalists with power weapons rampaging across the galaxy of mankind on an eternal crusade to slaughter every single person of chaos, which they can never fulfill because you can never stamp out chaos because chaos is eternal? Are you suggesting that these religious nutcases on their eternal crusade are one of the best chapters of all time?
Fuck yeah, I am.
I agree with you 100%. That is so grimdark. That is so horrific. And it is so tragic in the fact that they could never reach the end of their crusade.
It's an eternal crusade against an eternal foe. It's the unstoppable force and the immovable object, and they will be at it for as long as there is life, For as long as they have Space Marines who can don the black armour of the Templars, they will be fighting the good fight against the forces of
And
chaos.
then there's such the bad things underneath, like the chains with the things comes from the World Eaters.
Yep.
The fact that the religious dogma at the heart of it, the ISIS thing, is like antithetical of what the Emperor teach. There's so many things in the core of the Black Templars which are broken, and not what the Emperor intended at all. There's so many things in their second Genesis and the second founding which is broken and not what the Guilliman intended at all, and the surviving Primarchs.
Their entire existence is based on an exploit of the Codex Astartes.
Their entire existence
and a misinterpretation, or
It's
a deliberate interpretation. I think there might be some little bit of allegory or a little bit of nod to a combination of real world religion in there with how they're designed.
But the vampire thing or the Space Wolf
there's
thing,
always
there's
something.
always something that the fact that the Black Templars at their core is broken, and at their second founding it's broken, and the idea that their crusade can never end, so that's broken, and that there's a little bit of World Eaters in the core. The whole thing about them is screwed. Is just so grimdark. Is so 40k, and I cannot. The Black Templars are definitely one of the top 5 Space Marine chapters of all time, and I tip my hat to you, sir. What a fabulous suggestion! Everything about Warhammer 40k
is there, Black isn't Templars.
It's there. The church thing, the bolted thing, the flame thing. They're so cool. They are so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
There we go. That's it. Yeah. So we'll just throw the other 4 away. Don't need a top 5. It's just Black Templars are the best Space Marine chapter in Warhammer 40,000.
If you think about Warhammer 40k and what it means, and also the other thing is on the tabletop they feel like Black Templars.
Yeah.
In every edition, whatever rules they come up with, they feel like Black Templars.
They don't play like your regular Space Marine.
And then in 40k they've got some cool stuff like High Marshal Helbrecht. You've done Hell's Reach, right? You've done the Armageddon stuff.
Yeah.
There's a bit in Hell's Reach, in the Armageddon things, where he screams at a chapter, and he screams that the princeps of an Imperator class Titan dies. And Helbrecht goes up there and goes to the thing and screams at her and tells her to come back to life, and she does. She's more scared of Helbrecht to death than she is. That is just so cool. So they've got characters.
Grimaldus is great in that as well, getting his perspective of becoming who he is and stuff. They're great characters.
Great characters in 30k, great characters in 40k. So what we're saying is, in the top 5 Space Marine chapters of all time, there is one that stands above all others that you collect, and I don't even collect, and it's Black Templars.
Yeah.
They're grim in the dark all the way through. I love them.
Yeah.
God damn it, why don't I have Black Templars?
Yeah, I know. It's because
so good.
It's because I keep bringing them. I've brought them a couple of times now. You can live vicariously through me and my Black Templars.
They're so good. They're so good. Everything about them is good. Narrative, they're so good.
Can you feel Black Templars in their like proto form in Horus Heresy? With Sigismund, like his...
Yeah, there is a rite of war that you can do in Imperial Fist. So in Imperial Fist, there is the Imperial Fist Legion.
Yep.
And then there's different ways of fighting that they're called rite of wars. And there's one called the Templar Brethren.
Okay.
Which is basically Sigismund. And then... So... The way they started was, back in Horus Heresy, is you got the Imperial Fist. Bear in mind that the Imperial Fist back then were hundreds of thousands strong. The Phalanx has got hundreds of thousands of different chapters. Chapters, by the way, started the idea of chapters, and back in the Horus Heresy, they were 10,000 strong, not 1,000 strong. The idea of chapters actually came from the Blood Angels. The Blood Angels brought the idea of chapters first to the fore, to divide into chapters, and Raldoron of the Blood Angels is the first chapter master. Raldoron, the first chapter master ever. And Guilliman said, hey, that's a really good idea. I'm going to take that idea and divide my Ultramarines up, and that's where chapters come from.
And wasn't the idea so that you could never get a Horus Heresy of that? You never have legions succumbing to...
So that's what happened after the heresy. We need to split this up because a legion can take over an entire galaxy. So one legion on its own could conquer the galaxy if that legion is united. So that's why Guilliman split it up into chapters. So back then, the Imperial Fists were divided into different orders, and there was something called the Templar Brethren, and there were different types of... So the Emperor's Children, for example, had the Palatine Blades. They were the best blade. They were like a cult inside the Imperial Fists, and they were the best of the best Blade Master. And if you, Warsmith Chris, were one of the best of the best, you could try and join the Palatine Blades. In the Imperial Fist, you could try and join the Templar Brethren, and to beat to join the Templar Brethren, to be one of the best of the best of the best of the Templars, you had to beat 1,000 other Imperial Fists in single combat. So you had to go through one guy, and then another guy, and then another guy, and then 1,000 times. And if you managed to do that, you could join the Templar Brethren. The Templar Brethren were those that guarded the inner circuits, the inner secrets, the inner things of the phalanx for the Imperial Fist. They were the closest. They were knightly order, and and then there was one who rose above them all, which is Sigismund.
Yeah.
During the course of the Horus, so Sigismund were in charge of the Templar Brethren. He got religion because of Euphrates Keeler. That's a whole other story. And then by the end of the Horus Heresy, him and the Templar Brethren, of which there were only a few hundred left, had a kill count of 1,000 to 1. They wrecked face throughout here. You'll get there. You're doing the Siege of Terror.
Yeah.
They wreck. There's a bit. You'll love this. I'm going to spoil it for the crap out of you. I'm spoiling it here right now. But because Sigismund got faith, Rogue Dawn said, "You're worthless to me. I'm not working with you. I'm not unleashing you."
I know about this.
And for year after year after year of the heresy, Sigismund was impotent, because he wouldn't do anything without Dawn telling him to do it. Then, when the Imperial Walls, when the Eternity Gate fell, when the last bastion on Terra fell, when everything was lost, Dawn turned around to Sigismund and said, "I release you." And Sigismund said, "Okay, I'll take the Templar Brethren out. Finally, what do you want me to do? Give me an order, sire." And Dawn looked him straight in the eye and said, "Hurt them." And he did.
I bet he bloody did.
After 9 years of waiting, he had a body count of 10,000 to 1. He unleashed, and that was the core.
And let me tell you something. It didn't end there. Who was there when Abaddon finally pulled the remnants of the traitor legions out of the warp? Who was waiting for the moment that his ships broke through after that crappy Legion of the Damned, whatever they were called, guys? After them.
So you're talking many years later.
Many years later.
Unified the 9 wars, the War of the 9 Legions, and he did the thing. And
when he first
came out,
broke out of the warp, who was waiting for him?
Who was waiting for him? Stood there with the Emperor's sword and blah blah blah. Yeah.
Sigismund.
Yeah.
That's how cool the Black Templars are.
Yo, bitch! About time you're back.
Yeah, and Abaddon was like, "Who the fuck are these guys?" And he was looking at all these Black Templars. Like, what the hell?
Here's another thing that I love about the Horus Heresy series. So it's 67 books before you hit the Siege of Terrors. There's like a shit ton of books. Everyone loses. Loken loses to Khan on Isfahan 3. Nathaniel Garrow loses, gets a leg blown off on Isfahan Extremis. Every single one of the main characters in the entire Horus Heresy series loses at some point. Sevatar loses, he gets captured. Name a main character, they lose.
Yep.
Except Sigismund.
He
never loses a fight.
Yeah.
All the way through. There's times where he had to back down with his legion because he's one guy with a bunch of Templar Brethren and there's like 1,000 World Eaters coming out. And then he had to... There's times that... But in one-on-one, he never loses. Someone has to be the best. Someone has to be the best. Someone has to be the John Jones. Someone has to be the Muhammad Ali, and that guy is Sigismund.
And when he does eventually lose, he's ancient. He's absolutely ancient. He can barely like. Everybody had to wait for Sigismund to be essentially like 100-year-old man in human terms before they could even stand a chance of beating him. And even then, Abaddon remarks on how unbelievably strong his strikes are, despite the fact that he's ancient.
It's his religious stuff. It isn't through just, I believe in the Emperor of Mankind. There's the Euphrates Keeler thing in the Flight of the Eisenstein. There's he has his faith reaffirmed again and again and again by the Emperor. The fact that he's given the black sword by the Emperor through the Navis, like the Emperor made this for you, is like, what? That means he knew. He's like, yep, he knew. His faith was reaffirmed by the Emperor of Mankind. It's not like an idle faith. It's not like it's one of the permutations that the Emperor said. Someone's got to be the best.
Yeah.
And in the Horus Heresy rule set, by the way, in 30k, he is the best.
Yeah.
His sword is instant death. It just is. And he's the only Eternal Warrior who's not a Primarch. He is the best. You can put any character in Horus Heresy up against Sigismund. It doesn't matter if it's Khan, it doesn't matter if it's Sevatar, it doesn't matter. Whoever you put, Lucius, Sigismund wins. He's the best.
Yeah.
Someone's got to rise to the top. And he is the leader of the Black Templars.
Yeah.
And the Black Templars is the greatest chapter in Warhammer 40k.
There you go, Games Workshop. I think you already knew it. But there you go. And if you'd like to see a professional general performing some Black Templar shenanigans, I believe at some point in the future, you'll be able to see me and Winters going head to head with my Black Templars and his various horrible things.
There's one that came out today, not when this video comes up, but I did release.
Right, so one came out. Yeah.
There's going to be another one.
There's going to be another one, yeah. That one's, okay.
Yeah, we did two.
We did two. Might do more. Might not. Might. Yeah. Depends how we feel. But anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. We've gone way over our budget.
I got passionate in this one, Chris.
Yes.
I got passionate.
And I'm never going to stop this. I'm never going to cut off passion mid-flow.
I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this was good. We got some real juices flowing. And you know what? These top fives, yes, they are official. And yes, they are very important. But I think the whole point of these top fives is that it leads us into expressing our love for the things that we're talking about. And that's really what we're here for, right? We're all here to share our love for the hobby, the stories, the worlds, the characters, the game. And thank you so much for joining us on our journey today. And thank you for realising that my pick was absolutely the correct one and that Winters wasn't. So you've all been very kind. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye. I'm the best. Thanks for... I'm just great. Thank you. Love you.
What just happened?
Bye.